Hello everybody and welcome to Alternative Interactions. I'm Gary. This is part 2 of Flat, Round or Neither. The first part was really an introduction to get the mind going a bit, and this time I have a slideshow, so I'm a bit more prepared to go through that. Now I actually did a live with Maten or Platonic Planes the other day, and that show, although it's long, 2.5 hours, we do go through a lot of the concepts here in far more detail than I will, as well as other things. So that's really an amazing show. I know it's long, but if your attention span's half an hour or so, which I tend to have a fairly shortish attention span at times, please just watch half an hour at a time and then come back to it. There's a lot of really good information in there, a lot of aha moments hopefully for everybody, and we really do look at things in a different kind of way, from a different angle from most, I think. And Maten's angle on human design and astrology really comes into this as well. His understanding of such like, which comes through amazingly. So yeah, please do check that out. It's a very good video, and it kind of links into this one very nicely as well. But as I say, this is part 2, so please like, share and subscribe, and I'll get on with my presentation. So hopefully you enjoy it. Now we have to do the technical stuff, which I'm never particularly good at. There we go. So I've started off with the matrix sigil, basically because I think it has connotations. Some of the comments have been a bit not bad in any respect, but some of the comments I've got on other programs I've done have been questioning and bits and pieces, which is absolutely awesome. What I'm going to be telling you and showing you will challenge your concepts of what you've been told or understand, and even change slightly the angle in which you've looked at before. So you know, try not to get too triggered, and stay open-minded, because that's the key to everything, is being open-minded, to accept that we're not always right, and I'm certainly not right as well. This is just my perception of where we are currently in my understanding after quite a few years worth of research, and everything is fluid and everything changes, and if somebody could come up with some good information or an alternative angle to what I'm producing, I'm more than happy to listen to it and see how it resonates with me. So there we go. So this isn't going to be a flat earth demonstration or talk as such, but I do think that we need to address the elephant in the room of flat and round. Now again, I'm not going to tell you it's flat and I'm not going to tell you it's round, but this is actually a document from a flight book, and it clearly shows, very clearly shows, that there is a flat earth. The earth is curvature is 0, and it's non-rotating. So there they are talking about making assumptions. So any pilot will, if they're being honest, tell you that they do not make an adjustment for the curvature of the earth when they're flying an aeroplane. Fundamentally, if it was bald, the nose would have to go down to 2.5 degrees from memory, 3 degrees, to stop the airplane lifting and lifting and lifting constantly up, and then going into the whatever's up above us, and that doesn't happen. It's an aeroplane because it flies on the plane, and a plane is a flat area. So I'm not going to dwell too much. I'm not going to try and make this a flat earth thing, but what I am going to show you is some of the ludicrouses and some of the things. So this top part here is the Disney's The Lion King, sorry. And in this scene here we can clearly see, I've seen this film before, but they've written sex in the sky. Now Disney has a long history of phallic symbols and such like within its productions. But here we have, this is an official NASA image of the Earth. Every year NASA produces an image of the Earth, an official globe, and okay, that's quite interesting. But often from one year to another, or it'll jump a few years, we get exactly the same cloud formations from one year to another. And for those interested, you might want to Google Blue Marble Boy. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But we have a very interesting cloud formation here that says SEX, and there we go. So we have a Disney production and we have a NASA image. And obviously Walt Disney was involved with NASA, and Disney and NASA will always show round objects. This happens to be the moon, but I'm just putting it out there that when I was doing my flat earth research and talks many years ago, this kind of thing came up time and time again. So this is another picture of the Earth, and what I didn't show you previously was the size of the globe that they did, which is not correct. So here we have a huge land mass with an ocean. We have no polar caps at all, and when you take this Earth and put it onto the map, what we're seeing as a globe is actually one small part of the world. So this is an official globe picture from NASA that's been worked out exactly what part of the world it is, and you can clearly see it's a ball. But what about the rest of this? Something else I need to point out as well is within maps are not correct. Total fallacy. The continent of Africa is actually, I think, 1.5 or 2 times the size of Europe, but Africa is shown as a tiny little island or landmass continent compared to that, and Australia is absolutely huge and not the shape at all. It's actually more longer, it's more elongated. So the maps that we're shown at school, these kind of entities, are not correct either. Please go into Google Maps and measure across Europe, or do a Google search on the length of Europe from one end to the other, and the length. So what I'm talking about is the length from here to here, and then do Google from the length or the width of Africa, and look at the difference. Then go on to Google Maps and look at the difference. Now this is a very interesting picture. This is a globe, and we're talking about light refraction now. How light would reflect or refract off a round surface compared to a flat surface. So if we were seeing a round ball, what you would see is moonlight would only go so far because of the reflection off and the curvature. But in actual fact, when we stand on a body of water, we get the moonlight going all the way to us. One is flat, one is round. We see this in car headlights. On a wet day we have that, and here we have photographs of the sun on the ocean. But something else to take note on the ocean is there is no curvature. It's a dead flat straight line. There is no curvature. We're not seeing this. We're not seeing a hump, and we're not seeing a limited light source. We're seeing a flat area with a continuous stream of light coming to us. Now, this isn't me promoting flat earth or round earth. I'm just showing you some of the research that I did to lead up to where we're going to be going. So this is another of the pictures showing a flat horizon. But we, if we were on a globe, would be seeing this. But we don't, we see this. And although many of you will say, well, when I'm in an aeroplane it looks curved, and that's because the curvature of the windows within the plane. An aeroplane has curved or a fisheye kind of lens effect on the glass looking out of the aeroplane. You go to the coast, you stand at the sea, and you will see, as you pan round from one side to the other, a completely flat zone. You don't see that, and you should do if we were on a ball. As told to us by our controllers. Now, water, to maintain its flatness, needs to be in a contained area or zone. So if you can imagine this is a glass of water and it's been filled up, and your glass will be fundamentally flat, and then if we had some land masses placed in that, you would then kind of get an idea of trigger happy with the old clicker there. You would get a flat interpretation of an area. And when we see people going to Antarctica, we often see this kind of image where we have a solid ice wall, which incidentally is fresh water, going to the sea, which is salt water, and they have to have a climbing system to get up. They have to be craned up from this vertical wall that's shown here. And this is a cartoon representation. I don't know if it's true or not, because we're not allowed to go there. You cannot get within 1,000 miles, I think it is, of the Antarctican circle without being stopped by one of a number of countries' military vessels. And it has been said, and obviously I have no proof of this, that people, when they have tried, have actually been sunk. They will not let you go out here to look at this. One slide I didn't put in is Captain Cook. If you want to look at Captain Cook's journey to try and find a north-south passage through Antarctica, please do look. I think he travelled something like 66,000 or 60,000 miles in circumference around without finding a way north to south, and ended up back where he started again. Again, please look at that information. Here we have the ice wall. As I said, it seems to be all around us, and this is an interpretation of an artist's interpretation, of course, of what we live in. And fundamentally we have the North Pole here, and we have continents coming off, and then we have an ice wall that goes round us. Now, whether this is true or not, I have no idea, but this is the flat earth model. Now, those who have looked into Antarctica will have come across Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Very, very interesting character. There's some very, very interesting documentation about Mr. Byrd, but a video that's worth watching, if you can find it, is the Longines Chronicle, as in the Longines Watch Chronicle, with Admiral Richard E. Byrd, where he discusses his polar exploration and expeditions. Very, very much worth having a look at that, because it's very interesting what he has to say. And it's kind of the only, or one of the only sources of information we have about Antarctica. Now, whether it's true or not, I don't know. Mr. Byrd was a 33-degree Mason, allegedly, and was also the youngest admiral of the United States Navy in history. I think he was an admiral by the time he was 23. And as a side note, which we always like a bit of a side note, the Indiana Jones films are based upon Admiral Byrd. So Indiana Jones is fundamentally Admiral Byrd, which is very interesting. But what I wanted to do and show this is that we actually have a map of the flat Earth behind him. This is Australia, much longer, as you can see. And we can see the width of Africa compared to Europe. UK's here, America here. So, but there's no Antarctica, which is a very strange thing. But when we actually look at all the United Nations agencies and world agencies, they all show, bar the International Monetary Fund, they all show a flat Earth map. But the International Monetary Fund, although they put it in two circles, which is a duality, which is something else altogether, and there'll be a reason why they did that. If you've watched the last part of my Plutonic Planes Part 2 with Meten, this is actually a representation of Janus, the twin-headed god. We have a duality of looking away both sides, and a split, an inversion. But there's still no North Pole or South Pole shown here particularly. It's very interesting that all these official agencies would not have sigils like this all over, but they don't. And there's obviously a lot of symbolism here, and here the anchor with the chain is very much so as well. But we won't go into that one today. Now, this takes us on to the electric Earth Dome battery concept, and this is something that I will be covering it in the near future with my Tartaria. I put the slides together. I just need to adjust them in order, but fundamentally we live in a battery, I suppose is the only word you could really call it, a battery, with positive and negative. And so the higher up you go, the more positively charged, and the lower you go on this plane, on this flat plane, is negatively charged. And so we then get a flow, we then get a toroidal field, in fact. The moon and the sun are both within a toroidal field. Now this is a toroidal field. I've actually extended it, changed the shape of it to show a round effect with a plane or toroidal field plane going through the centre. And if we put it on its side, what we were seeing in that first one of the flat plane of the negative charge is here, and then this is what goes over the top fundamentally. And this is a graph showing the electromagnetism of positive and negative planes with that plane of inertia sat in the middle. And there's a lovely little bit there, and that little bit there here is where we live. Now this, I haven't turned it flat 90 degrees, but if this was turned 90 degrees you could then see. But this is actually a depiction of a toroidal field, a magnetic north and south pole creation, but it goes both sides. It doesn't just go one side, it's both. It's a circle. It's a circle. I showed you this before. This is another concept, that we have a toroidal field that looks like a donut, and within that donut we have toroidal fields coming off that are all interconnected. And this is another toroidal field circle with all the planets as such, as you could say if you wanted to. Please ignore all the other bits and pieces and the writing. This is just for visualization of what we have, but it's very interesting that NASA and science tells us that all the planets are on a flat plane. They all come off us in a flat plane. And we then have this, which is all ancient symbolism of different ages, and then we have the NASA. And again, this is an official NASA ball earth, and we can just see how big this continent area is compared to the sea and everything else. And from the slide shown earlier, we can clearly see that this is actually a very small part of the landmass. Now what we actually have here is a depiction of the stars being part of the toroidal field, and we have and here we have a flat plane of existence with a toroidal field going round with a flat inertial plane, but it's a circle. And this one's the same, it's a circle. We have a flat plane of existence and a circle. This one again, we have a toroidal field, a circle, and all this kind of stuff underneath. This is all kind of artistic interpretation, because I don't think we really know, but they could be exactly the same on the other side of the coin. If you can imagine a coin, if you're holding a round coin, it has two faces. It has two faces, and so we have the above face and the below face, and we don't really know what's below this. But this one's very interesting. I like this one because this is the Nordic version, and we have inside and to the centre a tree, and the tree is a toroidal field, and the toroidal field comes out and goes round, which is the tree of life, and so this is the toroidal field, but it's represented in the tree and by the branches and leaves. And even older, it was depicted by serpents eating their own tails, living on the back of the turtle, which gave us the 13 months, living on top. This one they've shown the earth as being round, but actually that's the earth and this is the dome. But they're all representations of toroidal fields, not a solid ball planet. This is our heart. Now I've shown you before pictures, and you've probably seen toroidal fields coming off people, but the different colours here represent the different magnetism of the toroidal field of the heart of the person. You can see we have 1, 2 and 3 toroidal fields coming off. But if you were to put that on its side, that would be a representation of the flat earth. We always have a plane, an existence within the centre. So here we go. This is the flat plane of inertia that we've shown, that line that goes through. This is the toroidal field above, and it will go below. As above, so below. I wonder where that saying comes from. There's been many interpretations of that, but no one really knows exactly what it really means. So I'm just as right by saying as above, so below, as in the toroidal field above is the same below. But what we have within the toroidal field is the perception of the stars, the sun and the moon. And we have the perception of movement, of turning. Because the toroidal field is a fluid, it moves, and so will cause movement. The sun and the moon are not quite the same. The sun is a clock that circles around, and the moon is more erratic in its movement and is just as likely to be out during the day as it is during the night, but does have 13 cycles, although our calendar only has 12, which I think is another thing to unbalance the human body from connecting to the toroidal field fully. So this is what we're told is going into space. There was the Big Bang. It's very interesting actually. The Big Bang theory comes from a Catholic priest, a Catholic Jesuit priest. So the Catholic Church, who pushes God, actually came up with the theory of the Big Bang and the no God principle. That's very interesting, isn't it? Again, please check that one out. But what we're told is we're flying through space from a big explosion back here. All the planets are perfectly in alignment with us, or the sun, and we're all going round the sun in a wave form. But we have that lovely number 66. It's always 33 66s, isn't it? They do that in numerology. Now, you can say, yeah, that's correct. Okay, but if we have been travelling at this speed for as long as they tell us, we would notice movement in the stars. We would notice that the planets or the stars around us. See, the planets, they tell us, are held in by gravity in a vacuum, which is a very interesting concept as well, as particularly when you start looking at the properties of a vacuum. And that certainly is another rabbit hole. But just for argument's sake, we'll assume that the sun has a gravitational pull through space, a gravity, and all the planets are flying around it in an elliptical system. We then have stars in the background. As we move away from this star and this star, they would widen apart, they would change, and we have seen no change within the stars above us ever. They're all in exactly the same place the fixed stars I'm talking about, they have never moved. They always return to the same position at the same time, fundamentally, throughout the year. Now, we're talking about toroidal fields. This is a pyramid. I'm not saying it's a great pyramid. It's very interesting. We have cockroaches coming out of this one for some reason. And there's obviously some stuff going on the top, but fundamentally I've got this for the toroidal field coming off the pyramid. And what's very interesting is we have a flat inertial plane here, and we have a round ball system with the person inside, which could be as above so below in the flat plane. Now this is a magnet, North Pole and South Pole, and this is iron filings, and we can clearly see the shape of a toroidal field that it creates. And then we have a tree, the branches and the roots. The roots are in the ground, the negatively charged ground, and the tree branches are in the air, the positively charged air. Tree branches, tree root. We then have a toroidal field coming off, and what do we see? A toroidal field in the middle coming off. This is the human heart, toroidal field. This is an apple with the pips, and what do we see the shape of it? A toroidal field. This is a slide I borrowed. I'm not going to talk about these two bits and pieces, but fundamentally this was the interest that I wanted to show you. A magnet and a tree and us. We're grounded and our head is in the ether, the air, and our feet are on the ground, so we could provide. And this is another thing that they've done to us. We should ground ourselves more regularly, and we shouldn't be wearing plastic shoes, because fundamentally it detaches us from the ground, negative ground ether, and can affect our toroidal field, and so our wellness. Now this is an owl, and we have toroidal fields. This is the ground, this is the ether, we have the central line, plane of inertia, and there we go. I just thought that was quite an interesting, that the owl's face is that of the toroidal field of the magnet, north and south. We have love. When we're connected to love and the ground, our toroidal fields are massive, and when we're in fear, our toroidal fields are very small. I can think of a recent 2020s event that was used to create fear and not love, and so diminish our toroidal field, and so our connection to this realm, which is a very key thing, because we are a toroidal field within a toroidal field within a toroidal field. And that's the end of the slides. So let's escape from that, hopefully. Oh no. Oh dear. Oh, click to exit. There we go. As you can tell, there we go. That was pretty bad, wasn't it? No, but I'm just trying to show you that yes, there's probably more evidence for a flat Earth than there is a ball Earth. But actually, I don't believe either are correct. I believe we're in a toroidal field. And the importance of the beginning slide and the last slide links us to The Matrix and the film The Matrix. Another film that's worth watching, if you think about it, would be The Truman Show. That has very interesting concepts about this realm. So, if you were to ask me, is it flat, or is it round, or is it neither? My answer is neither. Because this is not, in my opinion, a solid, real place. It's a reflection of, a computer simulation of. And that's quite a big one to get your head round, I know. But when we start looking at the double slit experiment, when protons or whatever were fired into a slit, the proton was neither one thing or another. It just was. And it had a wave form, and a waveform is a toroidal field. We also have neutrinos, and these neutrinos appear to be the base code of what is, and connect us simultaneously to everything via the toroidal field stream of consciousness. And when we call it a toroidal field of consciousness, what we're actually really saying is it's a toroidal field of energy and data. It's a data flow, it's a data stream. Now there's further concepts that I'm going to go into on this, which will possibly be a part 3 of this, as to why I'm saying what I'm saying. And that then takes us through to what Maten and myself were talking about, and the revelation I came up near the end about the Fibonacci sequence and the importance of the Chris code. And again, there's a video that I've done previously on that, which is worth looking at, because none of these videos that I do can be taken in a singularity of context. They are fundamentally all connected. And when you understand that they're all connected, and they all link into each other like a spider's web, hopefully you can then start to build up a picture, if you feel that way, to look at really what we're in and understand what we're in. Because I truly do believe that knowledge sets us free. But not the knowledge that we find when we're told something from a book or even by myself, but from the knowledge of the knowing, from the internal, from your connection to source, your higher self. And source, your higher self, is you. We can then probably do need to look at the concept of time as well. So I think the next part 3 will be the concept of time and the holographic universe. I think there's a very good book that was recommended that I didn't read, obviously. I think it's by Michael Talbot, The Holographic Universe. And I'm told that's a very good book to read on that. But all of this links into science, and it can be proved scientifically via some of these extremely interesting experiments that have gone on in physics. There's also something called Roko's basilisk. Roko's basilisk, and it's a thought project that was shut down regarding the conceptual nature of this realm, and is this an AI controlled realm. And again, we briefly looked at this during the chat with Platonic Planes Maten the other day, when we looked at Janus, the energy being Janus, and one of his names, and its connection to the Fibonacci and all the other bits and pieces. So again, I'm going to try and make this bite-sized. I know I've gone on to about 40 minutes now, which is long. I do apologise, but there will be a part 3 where we then go on to the holographic nature of and where we are. So I'm going to start babbling now, and I don't think you need to hear that, so please like, share and subscribe. I really do appreciate all your comments and the love we get from you, and you really are a wonderful group of amazing beings, and thank you very much for your support. Love and light as always, and blessings, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye.